We are living in an era of seismic challenges. Our global food system faces never-before-seen stresses, from the climate crisis, population growth, and fractured supply chains.
But might these shocks to our system actually be a catalyst for positive change? This is just so incredible.
I'm on a journey to witness for myself.
Oh, look at this!
How farmers, scientists, and innovators are radically reimagining how we grow our food and produce it.
I feel like I'm in a space station and super perfect lettuce has just magically appeared from the heavens. It's a quest to meet the greatest challenges that are facing humanity.
We have to wake up and we have to feed the world. That's a big job.
And create a new and better food future.
The world's food system is enormous, complex, and in many ways remarkable. But it's far from perfect. While we produce more food than ever before, there are inequities in distribution, disparities in quality, and a toll taken on our environment and climate. But could now be the perfect time to rethink how we feed ourselves?
We're facing a whole new world with entirely different challenges and opportunities.
So if we could design our perfect food future, our Foodtopia, what would it look like and what would it take to create it?
I want to find out by asking a series of big, bold, and optimistic questions.
Can all food be climate and environmentally friendly? Can we have plentiful food despite the challenge of population growth? Can all food be nutritious and taste great? Can we have fresh food, whatever the season, wherever we are? And can good quality, healthy food be available to everyone across all of society? But first, I want to start with where we're at right now.
Chiara, there you are. How's it going?
Hello, great. How are you?
Chiara Cecchini is a Forbes 30 Under 30 social entrepreneur and is CEO and co-founder of Future Food Americas.
I wanted to start off by asking you what's happened to our food system in recent years.
Well, I think it's the first time for all of us to deal with 8 billion people on this planet. So what happened is that we try to feed all of us, we try to understand how to use all the resources we have to do that. And I would say we did an average job, we could have done better. And so right now we're very much struggling with some of the paradoxes. And when I talk about paradoxes are obesity versus hunger, food loss and waste, the lack of responsible procedure to treat our land. And so these are the main challenges we are stuck into and try to solve right now.
Is now the time to rethink our food system? And if so, why?
I think it is, because there are a few things which are aligning right now. First of all, we are seeing climate change tangibly, and so this has become a topic which is more current and more popular in different outlets. The SDG agenda of the UN, so Sustainable Development Goals, the UN, together with other institutions and countries actually are aligning on this goal and on this agenda. So this is huge. And the new generations, you see, really care about this topic. So I think all these different elements together in the same exact moment in life, it's a huge signal to actually do something right now. I think technology and biotechnology would help. So we need to use and leverage them in order to solve those problems.
So to my first question of how to create a foodtopian future, it's a big one. Can all food be climate and environmentally friendly? At Loddington Farm in the UK, fifth-generation farmer, James Smith, is trialing ways of growing on a commercial scale, but in a way that heals the soil and draws down carbon from the atmosphere.
How long have your family been farming here?
It was my great-great-grandfather back in 1882, Fred Smith, bought the farm here, and yeah, we've been here ever since.
With such a legacy business, do you feel like an immense sense of pressure?
Yeah, there's a certain amount of pressure. I mean, we're lucky to be custodians of the land here, really, but there is a certain amount of pressure. You know, farming is hard. I don't want to be the generation that messes it up, so that's my challenge.
And when your family first started here, the farm didn't look anything like this. In many ways, this is a real modern invention.
Yeah, this is sort of where we've ended up now in terms of apple and pear production with these intensive orchards. So, you know, when I first started, we had orchards that may have been 500 trees a hectare. This, without wanting to be too specific, 3,848 trees per hectare.
It's a massive jump.
Huge jump.
James is trying to combine these intensive techniques, but with a new twist.
Oh, look at this. I feel like we're on fruit safari. The grass is almost taller than trees. What's going on here?
We planted a 17 species cover crop in the orchard just after we planted the trees. And this is a mixture of grasses, clovers, all sorts of things that are helping cycle nutrients in the orchard.
So this area of land, it isn't an existing plantation that you've retrofitted by growing these grasses. No. The trees and the grasses were planted at the same time. This is all intentional.
Yeah, so this is where I'm trying to find that balance between an intensive modern orchard grown regeneratively. These trees are living in this kind of ecosystem rather than going back to that very sort of sterile, clean trees and grass environment. And the trees are growing well, and we analyse the trees every 2 weeks during the growing season, just to check their mineral balance, and then we just monitor it on that basis just to keep them nice and healthy.
It's a fascinating hybrid.
To see the effect this kind of cover cropping can have on the soil, we're going to a field that James has been preparing to enrich soil quality and, through photosynthesis, draw carbon out of the atmosphere and into the ground.
You ready?
Oh, look at this. It's incredible how high these are.
The idea of this is to try and start rebuilding the soil function. So whatever we do next on this field, the soil is absolutely running at full throttle.
Should we have a look at the soil?
Yeah, if we can find it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at this. You've got a foot, at least, of all of this carbon-rich material to get through.
Yeah. If we want to get more CO2 out of the atmosphere and put it in the ground, this is how you do it.
So you've got that spongy, earthy texture, which
exactly.
is really good for plant growth. If this is bad soil, it would be completely like a compacted pan. Oh, look at that. We had thunderstorms last night, and this is yet still crumbly and light.
The key thing for me is just about investing in the soil to make sure that we've got a better future.
Is it possible to be sustainable and profitable?
So this is not about just living the dream, the good life. You know, this is a commercial farm, and I truly believe that we can have all of it. We can grow in a much better way. We can have truly environmentally friendly produce that's grown in a way that's better for the people that work for me, better for the people that eat it, and it's just a win-win situation.
As a fifth-generation farmer, James has big shoes to fill. But he's taking all of that hard-won know-how from his ancestors and is combining it with 21st century knowledge to meet today's challenges. And he's not alone. Farmers around the world are trying new things to reduce or even reverse agriculture's impact on the environment and climate.
It can seem like a really enormous question. Could all ingredients in the future be produced in an environmental and climate-friendly way? But there is a surprisingly simple answer to that. And that's that with current global population predictions, well, it'll absolutely have to be.
And so, to my next question, can we have plentiful food despite the challenge of population growth? By 2050, there are expected to be another 2 billion people on the planet. That's a total of almost 10 billion mouths to feed. But agriculture already uses roughly half of all habitable land on the planet, so we'll need to grow more on less. As one of the largest crop producers in the world, Brazil is increasingly embracing digital agriculture as a solution.
If you go to Brazil today, what we are seeing, it is a revolution. In row crops, for example, we've been seeing the area with digital ag more than tripling every year. In many crops, you don't run an operation without digital ag in Brazil anymore. The idea, it is simple, making more with less.
Brazilian company Solinftech have gone so far as to combine data gathering with AI to create a virtual farming assistant called Alice.
Hello, how can I help you?
Hi Alice, what operations were done last month?
Work the operation spray post-application corn 122.
Some people compare Alice to Siri or Alexa. We prefer to think about Alice as your personal data scientist.
How was harvesting doing last month?
The distribution of working area was harvesting seed corn 1,842.89 acres.
The idea is that farm, weather, and market data can all be analyzed and offer suggestions to the farmer, meaning that they can be more precise and efficient than ever before.
With the challenges that we have for 2050, we can't afford not to use fertilizer, crop protection, soil as efficient as possible. So it is using data to better understand agriculture and to better understand how can we increase yields using less.
Some experts claim that digital data and AI could make farming so efficient that land once set aside for agriculture could be released back to the wild. But a utopian food future isn't just about quantity. Next, I want to find out if it's possible for us to have quality and equity.
Healthy food is a human right and shouldn't be a luxury product.
I'm asking a series of bold questions to imagine if it's possible for us to have a foodtopia, a dream food future. I've seen examples of what farmers are doing to grow food in an environmentally and climate-friendly way.
If we want to get more CO2 out of the atmosphere, this is how you do it.
And how digital agriculture could help provide plentiful food for a growing population.
The idea, it is simple, making more with less.
Now I want to find out if it's possible for all food to be nutritious and taste great.
Hey Tom, how's it going?
Great, nice to meet you, James.
Dr. Tom Adams and a team in North Carolina are using gene editing to address the problem that people tend to make their food choices based on taste first and healthiness second.
So it really doesn't matter what nutrients a crop contains if no one is going to eat it. It's a real important barrier to making a change.
That's exactly right. And looking at the green salad, the leafy green business, we saw that there's this desire for people to have more nutritious leafy greens, but they tend to eat the less nutritious ones. They talk about how they like to eat kale, but the amount of kale consumed in fresh salads is really not that much. So one of the things that we saw is there are relatives of kale in this large family called the brassica. Just as nutritious as kale, but they actually have leaf structure that's much more like a lettuce. The problem of those was that their taste is not very good, unless you like really horseradishy flavored salads. So what we saw was the opportunity to remove that pungency. It's a relatively simple biochemical reaction, so we'll be able to bring sort of a new category of salads into the market.
Tom and his team at Pairwise are using a gene editing technology called CRISPR to develop nutrient-rich ingredients that are more enticing and convenient to consumers, and so more likely to find their way into their shopping baskets. Through the power of technology, Tom gives me a sneaky behind-the-scenes look at some of their latest projects.
Welcome to our greenhouse, where we're growing various different crops, and you can see we also have corn. So we're also working on some of those traditional crops, as well as berries and many different varieties of mustards.
And it's not just flavor that they're trying to alter.
You do see some some beautiful blackberry plants. These are a really great tasting variety. This is a variety that has thorns on it, and that's one of the things we'd like to remove. It's a real problem with labor and so on, and people have to go a lot slower in picking, and sometimes they cut themselves on thorns, so we'd really like to remove those. I show you over here actually a variety that doesn't have any thorns on it. This is a natural variety, and we've identified like berries in these, and we're making the same to the variety that tastes better.
Gene editing is not without its critics, and its use outside the lab is prohibited in some parts of the world. But its supporters point to its advantages in speed and accuracy over traditional breeding techniques.
So this isn't conventional breeding, and it's not conventional GM, where you may be cutting and pasting genes across different species barriers. You're, in some cases, just turning on and off genes within the same plant.
What we could do with gene editing is pick the one that's almost exactly how we want it already, so that you're basically fixing the odds in your favor as a breeder.
Next on my list of Foodtopian questions is, can we have fresh food whatever the season, wherever we are? Historically, we've grown crops in the geographical areas that best suit their needs. But the last few years has seen a boom in indoor farming.
Oh, wow.
At this farm, across 22 hectares of land, 2 million kilos of tomatoes are produced each year. And not one of these plants is in the ground.
These are not grown in soil as plants would traditionally be grown, but in these big bags filled with inert media. It's basically coconut husks that have been chopped up that contain no water and no nutrients, and everything the plant needs for life comes through this drip line, a sort of IV of all the water and nutrients it needs.
But they're trialing a system developed by a Spanish company, NGS, that does away with growing medium altogether.
Guillermo?
Hey, James, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. So at first glance, it really looks very similar to the traditional system. I mean, the plants are a little bit smaller because they're younger. What's so different about it?
Well, you are right. It looks similar, but it's completely different. So first thing you can see is a plastic gutter, okay, with different layers inside. So we have the plants, you can see the tomato plants here.
So there's absolutely no soil on there whatsoever.
Soil at all. It's completely
just bare
clean.
roots.
Correct.
The plant roots grow directly into water, and that water is constantly flowing and recirculated.
It's an enclosed recirculating system, so that means that we are irrigating by gravity, okay? And then we are collecting the water and reusing it again.
Okay.
So actually by only that, we can get from 50 to 75% water savings here.
75% reduction is astonishing.
It's a lot, yes. And actually also not only water, but of course if we are using or injecting the fertilizers and all the chemicals that we are using with this in the water, that means that we are also saving fertilizers. Another good thing here is that we are not using pesticides at all. Pesticides are used mainly to prevent diseases in the soil. So we have no soil here at all, so we don't need them. But we are also doing something else. So we're having double density than the system that you have seen.
So the plants are actually closest together, so you get more crop from the same area of land.
Exactly double.
The system can be used for salads and fruits and means that fresh foods rich in micronutrients can be grown densely, at scale, and on land that would ordinarily be unfarmable. And vitally, because they're grown indoors, the environment is controllable, meaning that the crops can be grown and harvested all year round.
You know, at first glance, when you look at really intensive modern agricultural systems like this, they can seem a world away from that bucolic, quite romantic idea of how we like our food to be produced. But if we really care about the environment, we should also care about evidence. And these systems, they're better at land use, reduce water use, reduce fertilizer, and reduce pollution. And the best thing about it is this exact same technology could be employed all over the world in climates much harsher than this one, allowing us to produce abundant food in areas where nothing else could grow. If you ask me, it's a really exciting sign of things to come.
And so, to my final question. Can good quality, healthy food be available to everyone across all of society? It seems to me that this question is less about technology and more about attitude. It's been reported that across the US alone, 19 million people live in areas called food deserts, where they rely on cheap, fast food and convenience stores to feed themselves. The result is pervasive health problems and wider social issues.
Many people live in neighborhoods where there's very limited fresh and healthy food, also known as food deserts. But that doesn't mean that people don't want healthy, affordable food. Healthy food is a human right and shouldn't be a luxury product.
In Los Angeles, every table is targeting both food deserts and affluent areas with a radical version of fast food.
We know that affordable means different things to different communities, and so we price our menu according to the median income of the neighborhood. So wherever you find us, you're going to find the exact same menu, but in low-income food desert neighborhoods, meals are going to be priced $3 to $5 cheaper so that it's truly accessible.
They believe that they can provide a version of fast food that's nutritious, fresh, made from scratch, and affordable to low-income communities.
We work directly with farmers and suppliers to bring in the best ingredients, local, fresh, while also keeping our costs low so that we can offer an affordable menu for all of our customers. We bring our food into the community through our stores, our vending machines, home delivery, and partnerships with community groups. We envision in the future a food system and a society where everyone has access to nutritious and healthy food.
It's brilliant to see someone trying to tackle the inequities in our food system. But it's an enormous job and demands really a sea change in societal attitudes. Nevertheless, the fact that people are looking for solutions is a positive start.
To me, it's been not just reassuring, but quite frankly, also inspirational to know that a foodtopia, that's a civilization where food is available to all, that is nutritious, that's safe, that's affordable, that's sustainably produced, is at least in theory entirely possible. And scientists and farmers are already working on the tools that we need to make that happen. All we need to do as a society is have the will to see that through.